Hey, everybody, on your favorite podcast channels, on YouTube, on Twitch, on whatever, on the dark web, wherever you're listening is. Welcome to Extra Normal Podcast. My name is Chris. Alongside me is
Brianna. Hey guys, been forever. We're back.
We're back. Across the county is
Mr. Perry.
Mr. Perry and his horny cat.
He's not horny.
He sounds.
I kicked him out of the room right now because as soon as I close the door,
that hunger?
He cry. No.
Oh, he just misses you?
He's just old. He cries.
That's horrible.
Oh,
We all cry when we get old. How's everybody been? Everybody good? Check in. We're going to do a quick check-in. Is everybody good?
Oh, yeah.
Is everybody okay with Elon Musk owning Twitter? Because that seems to be the hot take that everybody gives a shit about right now.
I don't care. I honestly don't. I do not care.
Well, you probably don't use Twitter then. That's why.
She doesn't use Twitter.
Why? Do you care? Do you use Twitter?
I do, but not like for anything important. So.
But do you care?
So you care.
But do you
I don't care.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So nobody gives a shit at this table.
You care?
I mean, it makes. I think we had discussions about it. I like the fact that he's like free speech. That's all fucking like stop go to his censoring. I also feel a little uncomfortable that like a tech bro is like the gatekeeper. It's a little weird that a tech bro is like the gatekeeper. But you know, whatever. The tech bros are going to control anything anyways. Like Jeff Bezos is going to own our food supplies and Elon Musk is going to own all our transportation and our news sources. So it'll be fun. We'll all be controlled by 3 people.
Bill Gates owns our food right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a GMO king.
Okay. I love a good GMO. Give me
Trying
a big
to get
fat
that
tomato.
GMO all over the world.
Yeah, give me a big fat tomato, not those little dinky ones.
Don't
give me those 50s.
Theorists out there know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. It's all about
the
gene.
it.
They get it. They see you. They see you, and they're all be on Twitter now.
And I see you.
And we all see you. But speaking of the 50s and going back to the 50s, we're going to be talking about diet. I talked about fruit and vegetables in the 50s. You didn't hear that? Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Great listening job. Speaking of, oh my God. Speaking of I'm going to just ram it right through. Speaking of the 50s, guys, Elvis was around. No, Dyatlov's Pass is what we're going to be talking about. And I think most people who like click on like, oh, look, it's they got aliens in their logo or whatever. They probably know at least a little bit about. Is everybody okay? Health check.
What the fuck was that?
Was that a Giga Ghost or alien?
There he goes.
Bye.
And he's off.
And here he goes. We're going to be talking about Dyatlov's Pass, which is like it's the most infamous like hiking disappearance ever.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have beat it to the ground. So let's join them.
Yeah, let's
put
definitely
it 6 feet under.
It's definitely been talked about.
I have to say, I won't until we like get a little deeper into it. I have to say that I've become a believer of something new.
Okay, cool.
In this whole learning experience of doing research.
Okay,
so I'm excited to share that later.
Great. I'm sure Bill Gates was involved. So
maybe.
What we're talking about is a group of 9 hikers that disappeared between February 1st and February 2nd in 1959. So the events occurred in the middle of the night. So that's why it's kind of labeled that. They headed out in late January. So they all went on expression. They came from a local university, I think the Ural University, the name of the university. We're not going to be about like names and shit like that. You know, who cares? That's all details.
Well, I mean, Igor
Empty chair. I think we. Now it's all frozen. What's going on? Yeah, I need to get a laptop with a new battery. Hey, everybody. We're back. Commenting on the lack of equipment that we currently have at our disposal. Welcome, everybody. We're just going to adjust some settings. Thank you for being patient. If you're still there, if you're gone, it was good seeing you. See you next time. And we are good. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Everything's cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living in a dream. Okay.
Did you stop the show?
Yeah, we took a pause. We took a momentary break. It was just, it got too intense. So we stopped the show. I started crying profusely.
Why are we freezing?
I think it's
His laptop died, Perry.
My laptop died. That's what happens when you decide to buy a fucking Air, a MacBook Air, and you try to run video on it.
You want me to build you a computer?
I would love that. How much, bro? How much, bro?
Oh, it's you just give me a budget.
Oh,
$5.
$10.
Okay,
I'll give you
better off with the Mac. Keep the Mac.
You have to. You said 2007 MacBook Air, but it's fine. It's not much power than this one. I'm gonna take the blur off. Fuck it. That might be causing some of this lag.
Yeah, the big time lag.
Yeah, it's
like a bad.
Is it better?
Foreign movie.
Is it better?
All I hear is a cat. Yeah.
Dude, my cat just knocked down.
Why don't you just let the kitty in?
Because as soon as I close the door, he's gonna cry and want to come out and leave.
Oh, it's a cat's life.
He doesn't want to come in.
Oh God.
He just likes to go from room to room and just
fucking cats.
Yeah.
So 9 hikers died in the snow in the middle of the Soviet Union. So let's go back. Let's go back to the basics. February 1st, February 2nd, 1959, 9 hikers decided to go on a trip. I think it was actually I take that back. It was 10 hikers going on the trip. And one of the things that led to the conspiracy theories is there's a bunch of young college grade 2 hikers, which is the level right below the highest level you can get at the Soviet Union, because you have certification, stuff like that. So all these hikers were experienced young hikers. There was one hiker who was 38. So everybody was like 20, 21, 22, 23. There was one hiker who was 38, who was a World War II veteran. Have you seen some of the conspiracy theories on him?
No.
He fuels a lot of conspiracy theories. So anyways, there's 10 hikers. They all set off to go on this fucking freezing cold fucking expedition throughout the Soviet Union. They left in late January, and they ended up going to the Dyatlov's Pass area. Do we remember the name of the mountain?
Yes, it's the peak of Oturan.
Oturan. It's essentially
a mountain in northern Urals of Soviet Union. Urals?
Urals?
Urinals?
Urals?
Can you even hear me? I can't even.
You got to get up in it.
No, it's like cutting out there.
You got to get up in it, girl.
It was cutting out.
Oh. It might be.
You're not cutting out on my end.
Yeah, it sounds like
it's on my end. The cord, like every time I move it, like
you're a little low too, though.
It's like adjusted.
Yeah. Anyways, off with a bang. This is really, we got a lot of momentum going. They ended up hiking through the mountains. They decided to camp for the night on February 1st. because it was just too bad. Instead of going down the hill, which is a nice forested area, which is kind of the ideal place to camp, they decided to camp on this slope. Set up the camp because it was a mile back for them to have like essentially safer ground, but they didn't want to go for that. I guess I don't know if the visibility was bad. They just were like, let's figure this out. But they set up a tent on that night. And the reason why there's so much mystery is because after that night, obviously the campers weren't, it was 1959, so they weren't talking on their cell phones, but after that night, the campers were done hiking. And they never returned back. They never hit the spot where they were supposed to meet up and they were supposed to have their triumphant, like, we did it, and get their grade 3 certification, which was the highest level. And so family and friends started to get worried, and they started having search parties. And that's where things got strange. Brandon, you want to kind of dig into what the search party found after these 9?
So after like 2, was it a couple weeks?
It was a couple weeks. They were they started in late, I think January 23rd is when they started.
And so after about a couple weeks, the search party set out to search for them and found their tent in shambles. And when they kind of were able to like get inside, they saw their shoes neatly left behind. Like, well, why wouldn't they have their shoes? Obviously, it's snowing at nighttime. It was like sub-zero, freezing cold. So what was going on? They also noticed clothing and garments and jackets were there. So where were all the hikers?
Yeah, so the search party found the tent that all those hikers, Igor Dyatlov, which eventually the Dyatlov's Pass would be named after.
Igor is the greatest name.
It's pretty good. There's a lot of Igors. There's a lot of Yuris. There was a lot of common Russian names for sure.
But so what started the whole, like, I think what the major like conspiracy theories is the fact of the tent. When they saw, like, usually if you were going to escape a tent, you would just unzip it and run out. But if you were in a hurry and maybe something was blocking that area, maybe something dangerous was outside waiting for you, they cut a hole from the inside out to escape.
Yeah, so when researchers when they stumbled on the tent, the tent was kind of collapsed in because of the snow, because there was steady snow. And they found, again, like you were saying, they found a hole. But they start the what the fuck moment is when they noticed there was a hole in one side of the tent, no zipper, and like you said, every single line of clothing that they didn't bring in the tent, because you can't bring in all your shit in the tent. Mm-hmm. So you like unbundle a little bit, and you're wearing basically like long johns and fucking all that shit. But all your jackets, all the stuff that would make you be able to survive outside of that tent for an exterior was all neatly lined up, not touched. And they noticed that the hole, and they're like, "Oh, that's weird. Something broke it." But then when researching that, like you said, they found out that it was cut from the inside. And so researchers, that was their moment where they're like, something is wrong here.
Right.
Something is terribly wrong. And so they started having friends and family and colleagues and everybody search for them. And you know what's fucked up? You know how they search during those days? Do you know how they searched for the hikers?
Stabbing snow.
Basically, they took the point of the tent, and they found footprints leading away. And the thing that's crazy about that, right? You think about someone cutting open a fucking tent. What do you think the footprints?
Mad dash.
What do you think the footprints are going to look like?
They
weren't. They were in a steady line, like almost like a marching, like we're all going up, like you would hike, right? So everything about the tent indicates panic. Everything about right outside the tent indicates no panic. Every piece of article of clothing they didn't grab, they didn't try to put on, right, to keep warm. They single file line walked out away from the tent.
Also, did you also read in one of the mysterious stories that I had read, it also said that there was holes in the top of the tent?
I didn't read that. No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so there's a conspiracy later. Remind me
to, fresh one
that
I didn't hear.
To bring that one up.
Oh, Perry's in the forest now.
Are you there?
Is God behind you?
Are you in Russia right now?
Wow. It's always so beautiful when the light shines through the trees.
He's in Dyatlov's pass.
So again, like the researchers were like, what the fuck? Like the tent is savage. Like there was either a fight or an animal or an avalanche or something fucked up happened. But there was a steady footprint outside. So they started, and getting back to what I was saying, the way they fucking would try to find the body is they had little like poking hiking pods, and they would just stab the snow. And when they got something on something squishy,
Ooh.
they would basically be like, oh, we better look. And so they would dig it up like, oh, a tree. And they would keep going. And eventually they found two, for the dead ones, but they found two squishies. And so they started digging up on it because it's constantly snowing. So the bodies, this was 3 weeks after the incident. So the bodies were covered, right? You couldn't see them just by like glancing out. Underneath a tree, they found two of the hikers. One of the hikers, actually both hikers were just in their undies, just stripped down, right?
Which, like, you brought this to my attention, which at first you're like, how could they be in the snow like that? But if they had hypothermia, you naturally would, you feel like you're burning, right? Like, so you would want to strip down.
There's a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing, I think is how it's referred, where once you start, like the way your nerves run, once you start having true hypothermia, you actually get a burning sensation. So that tricks your body into thinking it's burning up. So you start undressing, right?
Right.
So that's one of the.
It totally makes sense because when I've been in the snow and touched the snow without wearing gloves, it does have a burning sensation. So I could see if you were in it for a long period of time, how it could be severe.
Yeah. So they were found just in their under. There was a fire right next to them. Some of the interesting things they found about these two bodies, is they had burnt flesh, right? Which could be some burns from the snow, but there's speculation on that. It might have been some other source. And
remind me to touch base on that one theory that goes with the poking holes.
And there was flesh in one of the hikers' mouths. So homeboy was,
his own flesh.
His own flesh. So he was chewing on his own knuckles, is the theory.
Like, there's something so wrong with that. Like,
it's fucked. And also they found 15 feet up. So they started looking everywhere, right around there. And they looked up in the trees, and it looks like there was someone who climbed, and they found flesh at 15 feet up. So the theory is that the conservative, like traditional theory, is that like they were climbing to look for, like, is there anybody out there? Is there any, or they were trying to get firewood. They're trying to break off branches for firewood.
Or something was chasing them.
Or an animal, or a person.
Were there, are those two the ones that fell from the trees? Because weren't those the ones with the branches like all around them?
One of them fell from the tree. At least one of them did. Yeah.
So
chewing on your knuckles 15 feet up on a tree. So already there's fuckery,
so yeah,
right?
so
there's something weird going on.
Yeah, they either were looking for where their tents were, or they were trying to get away from something.
Invisibility shit, because they kept searching, and they found 3 other bodies.
But not that same day.
Not that same day, but fairly recent, shortly after they found the 2 in the tree, they found 3 other bodies, and their bodies were placed to where they looked like they were trying to get back to the tent. And they were actually fairly well dressed. I think they were not.
They had started a little fire, right, to keep them warm.
I don't know about a fire, but they definitely were better dressed. They were better dressed than the 2 initially found. But the thing that really like fed into the conspiracy theory is, I think early March, they found the other 4. And the other 4 were in a snow den. So they made a little fucking house out of snow to kind of stay away from the cold. But one of the things that ignites the conspiracy theories with them is that they had fucking gnarly injuries. They had skull fractures, broken ribs. One lady was found with her tongue missing, and 2 of them were found with their eyes missing. They were partially wearing the other hikers' clothes. So the theory is that they were the last to pass. They had all kinds of there was one person with a skull fracture. The interesting part is they say that those 4 who sustained the injury, they took the impact. They said that the force of their injuries, and there was no external injuries, but they said the force of their internal injuries was that of being hit by a car. Like the force they were hit with was like that of being hit by a car. And that's wild, because if you think about, like, we'll get into some of the theories, and if you think about the most traditional theory,
avalanche.
But not to jump too far ahead, but how is the people, if the theory is avalanche, how are the people who got hit by an avalanche the last to survive?
Right.
Like, how are they the ones to make it the longest? Like, they got hit in the brain and broken ribs. That's why the avalanche theory is a little weird. Another weird thing, Perry, is that they were found with radioactive. Their clothes were studied, and their clothes, 2 of the people's clothes were found to be radioactive. They had radioactive material on them.
But the conspiracy theory with that is that 2 of them worked in labs.
That's the traditional theory, is that 2 of them worked in labs, so
it was like top secret, like laboratories and stuff like that. So that could explain that.
And we're talking about Soviet Union in the late 50s, man. There was so much like nuclear fucking shit going on.
Yeah.
It was like Chernobyl. Like, I think one of the guys was literally like a cleanup man for like a radioactive spill.
That's why like some of the controversy and theories makes me led to believe that they were set out to go on some type of undercover mission there, whether looking for something or testing out new things.
Maybe. So do we want to get into the theories on what some of the...
I mean, the only other facts that I could think about with the bodies and mysterious things of the bodies, just to kind of like give people more ideas for them to come up with their own theories. The only other thing that I know is that they also had found 2 of the bodies were intoxicated, I believe, 2 or 3. 2 of the people were intoxicated. So, I mean, when you look at the pictures, we're going to post them on Instagram and on our TikToks. They were having a blast. They were having a great time. They looked like a fun-loving, early 20s, like just silly, goofy. It's even more sad when you actually see the people, like especially days before they die, with all these fun pictures. It's really super depressing. But so, they like, for me, with alcohol was either to keep them warm because they knew they were going to die, or they literally were just having a fucking great time and then passed out, and then all hell broke loose.
But that's the where all hell break loose is where it gets interesting. And just for reference too, the 3 that were found walking back towards the tent, two of them had bruises on their hands. The female had bruises on her side. So there's theories. There's wild theories.
Just to let everybody know, there was no foul play. They checked the female. There was
there's no like sexual assault or anything like that.
So it wasn't that kind of a party.
And so they did it. So they found the investigators found all this stuff. And what leads a lot to the conspiracy theories is that the Soviet Union did a investigation. It lasted them like 3 weeks. And this was their explanation. After 3 weeks, a lot of fishy circumstances, they closed the case saying that considering the absence of external injuries to the bodies or signs of a fight, the presence of all valuables of the group, and also taking into account the conclusion of the medical examinations for the causes of the deaths of the hikers, it is concluded the cause of death was overwhelming force, which the hikers were not able to overcome. And that was their explanation. They didn't look beyond that, anything. They just said overwhelming force. That was they weren't like, we think it's an avalanche. There was no signs of avalanche. We can get into the different theories, but they closed the case and they sealed it off for 3 years. The Soviet Union said, we're not talking about it. The case is closed. You're not going to that area for 3 whole years. It's done, right? Which has fueled a lot of the government like involvement, conspiracy theories. And that was it. And so that fueled so much speculation, and it made it rampant with all these strange circumstances. We have
Wait, before we go into all the different theories, I want Perry, like, off the top of his head, to say what he thinks the number one theory could be.
And there's going to be some more stuff we're going to lay out for each theory, but initially,
ahead,
if you found Perry, I want to know a baseline theory. If you were an investigator and you showed up to the scene and you had 10 minutes to conclude, and you found a tent that was covered in snow, hole ripped out in an area that was not vulnerable to avalanches, a single file line, you found 2 bodies underneath a tree in their chonies next to a fire. They tried to climb the tree, and you found bruises. You found everything. You found 3 going back. You found a snow den with a bunch of people who were fucked up and radioactive in a stream, eyes out. What would be your conclusion?
Wait, you're saying if I just walked up and saw that?
If you saw all that stuff, what would your initial thoughts be? Like initial.
What caused that?
Initially, I would just think like, yeah, there might have been foul play.
Something.
By who?
Well,
We'll get into it. So let's.
I'm just saying, but that's initially. But I mean, after stating everything you've said, it's baffling. Yeah.
This is one of the most bizarre, and the thing that intrigues Dyatlov past like enthusiasts so much is there's no clear-cut answer. Nothing makes sense.
Side note, Perry looks like he could be Russian.
Perry looks like he could be Russian. Are you Russian, Perry?
I knew it.
Perry, what is your Euro side? Aren't you're half Thai and half Euro, right?
Yeah.
What is the Euro side? Do you know?
You sound sad about it.
No.
Are you Googling 23andMe right now to get?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me do my 23andMe.
I didn't want the actual answer.
Okay, well.
And you regret asking.
Got it.
Russian. We're just gonna say you're Russian.
35% French and German.
Because
15% British and Irish.
Are you really reading that right now?
He is.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Thank you for that.
And then 42% Thai, 1% Vietnamese.
Okay.
And then 3% Indian, Pakistani.
Cool.
Oh. You and Chris could be cousins.
Stop it.
Relatives, distant.
It's just not it.
It's true. I forgot about that.
Well. So let's get into. So do we want to do?
Does anybody want to ask me?
I say everyone goes and shares their initial theory.
Let's
hey, go. Perry, could you guess what I'm gonna say?
Guess, no, hold on. No, don't spoil it. Don't.
No. Because there's just so many.
We're gonna So how do we want to organize this? Do we want to go from like zaniest to most like traditional? What the fuck?
I have a traditional. So.
Okay,
dirty government says.
I'll tell you one that would make it almost sound part of it. What? Not the eyeballs missing, but one that sounds like, oh, that could have happened. So you want me to start there? The one I was saying with the poke in the holes and all that.
Is it traditional or is it?
Is
it like kind of?
It could be no. It's not out there. It could be like you could think about it and be like, that probably happened, but then what happened?
Okay, because I have a pretty traditional.
On the top of the hand.
It's like an initial but the eyeballs missing is still.
They poked holes in the top of the tent because they want to smoke that fucking weed. And they got some fucking lace shit.
Can I tell you?
And they
probably did get some drugs from.
There's a theory. There's a theory. Oh, there's a theory for that. Like you could say with Dyatlov
there's like
there's a theory for that. There's like.
Well, no. So one of the theories that I thought was like, okay, like that legit could happen. Like at first I was like, oh yeah, the avalanche, but then there's no proof that there was an avalanche there, so that's kind of impossible.
Well.
But so one of the theories is, which I believed. Was that the reason why they poked holes is because I guess they had like a kind of like a barbecue type thing inside their tent.
They had a hibachi.
They did. Look it up.
Not a
Look
good
it up right
idea.
now. Look it up.
No, she's right. I watched the survival show where they had have a
Yeah,
have
and
a,
then
I don't doubt it. I think it's fun.
they had
That's
like
all. It's
whatchamacallit,
pure,
like a little chimney. Because
it's,
think about it,
yeah,
it's back in the day. It's not like the
I
ones we
get
have
it.
now.
I'm not
They had the
questioning it.
chimney out.
Sounds fun.
So even though it was turned off after dinner, I guess something can ignite.
Oh, someone left the hibachi on.
So the bottom part ignited, and so they woke up and it was smoking in there. And their fastest reaction, because they couldn't really see where the exit was to just grab a knife and just cut a thing and get out as fast as they can. And that would explain their burn marks.
That's not a bad theory.
I know. That's why I was
That's
like,
not
okay.
bad.
So from there, I'm like, okay, that legit could happen. But then after that, and they could run out with no shoes on and stuff because they're hysterical. Some of them were intoxicated, so they probably were numb. And then they probably ran
But
out.
they didn't run out. They didn't run out like the tent was on fire. They ran out single file.
Well, maybe they got out like that way. So I don't know. So that's like,
It's like fire drill. So everybody line up. There's
yeah,
a
fire drill, just like they learned in school.
I didn't initially say they got out single file and they were walking, but
all
then,
the track marks
no,
showed
but then
single file.
Yes, but then they went from single file walking to a little bit of running too.
But see, here's the thing: is like I feel like, for me, like the chaos in the tent. If these people were truly afraid, the chaos would be at the beginning, right? You'd see footsteps all over the place, and then
There
it
was
would
no sense of urgency.
they would slowly get into single file. It wouldn't be the reverse. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the panic would be first, and they'd be like, "Oh God, we got to get in single file line because that's what hikers do." I don't know why hikers do that. There must be a good reason, but hikers do that. So that's not a bad theory. For me, the thing that's hard with that one is the footsteps, right?
Right.
That's hard. Like that doesn't. And I also think that the Soviets clearly wanted to put a kibosh to it. Like they wanted to end this inquiry quickly. So they're like, look, fire. Look at it. Look, there's a fire in the middle. That's what did it. Place closed. Let's all pack up and go back.
This is what I heard.
What?
What'd you hear?
Okay. I heard that there was an avalanche, but it wasn't like a major one. It was kind of like this one where it's like a 2-layer avalanche where there's like soft snow or something, and then there's like a different layer of snow. So it's 2 different layers of snow, and so it kind of did like a thin avalanche that went over the tent, and that's what caused them to have to quickly just rip the tent open. And then,
no, but if they're experienced hikers and this isn't their first rodeo, wouldn't they have known not to set up there? That's another thing.
From what I heard is they set up a tent that was actually their tent placement was their demise, because it was in a bad spot, and it ended up having an avalanche.
Yeah. So what Perry's talking about is the idea of a slab avalanche, where where there's a thin layer of soft snow that's there, and then as snowfall happens, you have hard snow that's heavier than the thin layer, and so basically that thin layer of soft snow collapses because it can't support the weight, and almost like an ice block, it slides down, and the campers did choose a bad spot, and there's all kinds of speculation on why they did that. There's speculation they did that for practice, like let's try to do something like different because we're going to be grade 3 kids. We got to really know what we're doing, so let's do something wackadoodle, because the most logical place is on the forest. But still, even with that, there was the problem with the avalanche theory. I think avalanche theory is one of the most credible theories, but again, like Dyatlov's pass is like this weird fucking thing where like nothing makes sense at all, even the most traditional, because again, for having like broken ribs, bruised knuckles, fractured skulls, they cut open the tent maybe out of panic, but then they all walk single file. Like again, there was no sign of.
But
they said
it was so windy and so like I heard they couldn't even see anything. So maybe that was the best thing to do
But they had to know as experienced hikers.
But I think they already knew where they were going. I think they had like a backup. And so they just kind of like casually walked to the backup area.
But they walked with, in my mind's eye, right? It like, not being an experienced hiker, so maybe like an expert would do us some good, but like if you're gonna do that, the fact that there was an avalanche and they had serious injuries and they cut their way out of the tent instead of trying to zip because if they here's the problem with that one of the problems with that theory is if they knew that they were gonna have a backup spot like in the forest where everybody thought they should have camped that was a mile away, they to preserve their tent because they knew they were going to need a tent again. Why cut it out? Why not? Maybe the zipper was broken, but then also if you had to lasso, you had to cut it. Why wouldn't they make and I guess there was an avalanche, so it might have been buried, but all the boots and everything were not taken. Why not try to grab the boots and then walking in a single file line after you've gotten hit in the head?
Even if you were in a hurry, I feel like the first thing that you're gonna grab, that's the only thing is I could think of the fire where they couldn't breathe and that's why they cut it open and got out. But like if I was in like a hurry, like, oh my God, we gotta get out of here because of the avalanche or whatever, I would be like, shoes, jacket, as fast as I could, shoes, jacket, or whoever is next to them, grab the shoes, you grab the jacket, let's go. Like it's still, you think that would initially be a very important factor because everybody would know if you're going to go in that storm, you're going to fucking die. Like there's no, it doesn't matter like what's going on inside the tent. It's either die here or die out. Like choose your poison. Like, so you,
but I mean, it could have been buried or maybe they didn't want to.
If they were buried, then why were they so intact still?
And also too, like the thing with like the moving towards like a better shelter, right? That theory's, it's okay, but like, they had to know that like there was people who left in their fucking socks, right? No matter where you camp in that area, like if you look at pictures, you're dead. You're not making it. And so I feel like maybe it was like concussions and stuff like that made them like in this unright calm state of mind. They're like, we got this, but they're all like they're all foggy and buzzy in the head. Like it's bizarre to me. I get the fact that the avalanche and they would have wanted to go to a different spot because of that. But then why not try to grab stuff? Did they have like it's the avalanche is maybe the best theory, but it's not even a great theory. That's the thing with Dyatlov. It might be the best theory, but it's not the greatest. One of the other theories that we have to cross off, because I don't know if anybody's going to believe this, but some people thought it was a creature. So two different prongs of creatures, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to let's get to the more traditional.
Yep.
Let's get to the more traditional theory. One theory is a wolf or Wolverine stumbled onto the tent and they're like, oh, fuck.
I mean,
there's a Wolverine, let's cut open the tent where we got
when
exposed
you think
to the
about
Wolverine.
That would be legit because like Siberia, the Huskies, like they're wolves, like they're originally wolves. So I mean, there could be a pack of wolves for sure.
But there would like the thing, and again, like it's the hardest thing to come up with a good theory is that there's so much chaos in the tent, and they cut their fucking tent open. Their only shelter. It's like if we were trying to get out of the house and we took a sledgehammer to the house. And we busted open the door, but then we walked single file out of the house. Yeah. Like, what the fuck is going on? So the animal theory is like, if you're being attacked by a Wolverine, right? Let's say the Wolverine, because people, for whatever reason, think that's the most likely. I don't know. I mean, I know the comic book character, but I don't know about real Wolverines. Like, if you're being attacked by a Wolverine, you're going to cut open your tent and just kind of walk calmly. Maybe they were freaked because they were in this weird area and they heard the Wolverine. So like, we got to get out. And they were just in a panic because maybe they're drunk.
And then maybe they didn't see anything when they got out because everything was blindsided by the storm. You know, all they're seeing is just like sand and wind in their faces, right? I mean, snow and wind in their faces. But it would
I think you're thinking of Aladdin.
It would look like a sandstorm in a sense,
yeah,
you know,
visibility wise, yeah, for sure.
So maybe they again felt like their protocol is to walk single file to just make sure, you know, everybody is going down the same path and staying together in the group.
Could you imagine being like in the scenario, like some of our scenarios so far is like panic in the tent. They cut it open and they walk and they go out and they're like, son of a bitch.
I'd rather panic in the disco.
Could you imagine being that that fucker, the one of the 9 who cuts open the tent because you got freaked out, and then all the other 8 are like, "Thanks for fucking murdering us. Thank you. Good job. You thought you heard a wolverine. You cut open the tent. Thanks a lot. Now we're all dead. We got to go walk in our socks." It just doesn't. And even if like, so on the premise of like, you panic, you cut open the tent and you realize everything's actually okay, and you're like, fuck, I'm without a tent, we gotta figure this thing. You're gonna try to grab your jacket and your coat, right? You wouldn't just be like,
100%. Like I'm
well, we
telling
fucked
you,
up, we're gonna go walk
like
out into our
in
death.
you're in survival mode. Like the only way
You're in survival. How do you're in survival mode?
The only way that you wouldn't do that is if you were intoxicated, and there's only not everybody was drunk.
So does anybody have any percentage of belief in, let's say, let's take a poll for each one. Let's back up a few steps. Avalanche. What do you think, Perry? What do you think the percentage in your mind of the avalanche being the main reason?
Could have been a series of events though. That
could have
started
been.
it.
But in terms of like the reason why they fled the tent, do you think it was the avalanche? What percentage do you think it was?
I say 75% because
75% avalanche. Okay.
There's probably a lot of adrenaline. They were injured maybe. And
there was a lot of adrenaline for sure.
And then, just survival was just the first thing. And, things, you panic a little bit.
Sure. And to give some more credence to the avalanche theory, there's been like, they did a 2021 study. It was by the Russian government, so give it all the credence you want, like little or as much as you want. But they did a lot of avalanche experts did a lot of like testing, and they did a lot of scientific like experiments to see if that could have been the reason, including the injuries sustained. And there is some credence to that being able to happen, although rare. That is a possibility. Some of the injuries kind of line up with an slab avalanche, I should say, because with a regular avalanche, you're just asphyxiated, right? You're just buried in snow, so you just suffocate. But with a slab avalanche, it's basically being hit by a bag of fucking ice. So you're gonna have some injuries. So some of that has credence. So for me, let's go yours percent. Let's go. This is gonna be more interesting. What's your percentage, Brianna, of an avalanche?
I will say,
I'm going to say 2.
I will speak for the drunk person in the tent.
Okay.
I will say I was that drunk. If I was that drunk person and I got hit by the slab avalanche, which I think there's a good percentage, maybe 50% that is accurate.
Wow.
That might have been the initial to like the drunker that woke up like, what's going on? Oh my God, where's my knife? Let me pull my knife out.
Oh, I buried my hibachi.
I'm gonna cut a hole in the tent because I don't even know how to get to the other side that's open.
There was one fucking loose cannon.
And then he's probably drunk, shaking everybody else. Wake up, we gotta go. Follow me, single file.
I cut the tent.
Yeah, that sounds like.
And then we get out. Just kidding. It wasn't.
It was probably the most experienced hiker there too. That was super drunk that night.
Yeah. He's not. Igor. He's not done yet.
It's Igor.
So he's like, wait, okay, everybody single file. Then they get out. Oh my God, Yetis are real. Run!
A lot of events. Yetis like, look at you.
Okay.
You novices.
I swear
you buried
you guys,
the lead on the Yeti.
I'm going to say it. I did not believe in Yetis before this.
Oh.
And
whoa.
Now
this is what convinced you.
I'm kind of open-minded to the Yeti because of that letter. Perry, did you hear about that letter that they found? This is a conspiracy theory. We don't know if it's real or where it came from.
It is real. I verified it, by the way.
Okay, so
but I verified it with an asterisk. Go ahead.
Okay.
Can
I read it?
What is your percentage of avalanche? We're not on
Yeti. I said 50%, but 50%. That's only initially because obviously there's other series of events that happen.
Okay, we got to take inventory here. How many people think it was a fucking wolverine or an animal or
Yetis?
I say 0% for me that it was a fucking wolverine or
50%.
Wait, you're out of percentages.
I said there's 50% avalanche and 50% Yeti.
Oh, okay. You've already spent all your chips at the table.
I mean,
that's it.
Yetis, aliens. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Well, okay. So you're 0%.
What about you? Boring.
What are you fucking boring? Avalanche, I think it's like a good. I might be with Perry, like good 75% avalanche, maybe 70.
What's the rest?
Well, we'll get to that. I'm not gonna bury the fucking lead. Come on, make you guys. Ooh, is he gonna choose Wolverine? I want you to guess.
No.
Ooh, I'm not gonna choose Wolverine. 0% chance. Fucking Wolverine.
I already
That's
know
a
what you think.
stupidest fucking theory.
You think they did some drugs
damn
and
it.
they started poking each other's eyeballs
Yeah,
out.
I wish that's
And
the fun theory.
One was eating his skin.
Fun. So let's go with the other creature, which you kind of teased.
Creature of the night.
Creature that some believe that this whole thing was all caused by a yeti.
If a yeti was very strong, like you would think a yeti would be, he could do that damage for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about why people think it might be yeti. Why that kind of surface. One is Mensi, which is the local native tribe. There's some belief in creatures in this, like that live in the mountains and stuff like that. Snow creatures. The other is a picture that we will post on our social media of. Have you seen this picture, Perry?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
It's basically that's a burly dude in the background. That is just like photo bombing. It's like
it's actually
50s photo bombing.
It's from them. Yeah, it's from the group, and it's a little. I don't know. And going back to those pictures, and almost in every one of those pictures, there's an orb. So that tells me that there's
Wait, yetis can create orbs now.
That it could be some extraterrestrial.
You've spent all your chips. You
don't. Maybe it wasn't a yeti. Maybe it was a snow alien.
Ooh.
So yeah, thank you.
Like on Hoth, Star Wars.
He could be like related to Chewbacca, the Chewbacca family, but the snow version.
That's a yeti.
Yeah.
It's just a star yeti. That's a star.
But
yeti.
technically,
star yeti. Yeah.
It's the
but
dude.
Technically, he would be alien to our planet.
And what about Empire Strikes Back, where Luke like gets captured by that snow? That's I don't know the fucking name of it. I don't know the name of it, but he gets captured by a snow yeti. Maybe it's that.
Maybe.
But so there's like a burly creature, which just looks like a dude who's in full snow gear. I mean, who photobombed. Come on. Stop it.
Never believe.
I'll never. No, I listen. If I like wishful thinking, like out of all these like stuff we talk about, wishful thinking, like the existence of Bigfoot and Yeti, like being real on my wish list is pretty high because I think that's pretty fun.
After
I wish
could we, because since we're talking about him, could we please read the letter?
Read the letter.
Okay, you can segue into the letter.
I could say segue. So let me pull up the exact verbiage because they say basically
this is what made me believe everybody.
What did they say? Let's pull it up. They basically said we know now that snowmen exist.
I have it right here. From now on, we know snowmen exist.
Can you say it again, clean? Because I was talking over it like a rude.
Because you always do.
A rude boy.
From now, oh my god.
Ska music.
Shut the fuck up. From now on, we know snowmen exist. And this was written on a scrap of paper. So, and there was other, by the way, sorry, that knowing that it was written on scrap paper, it's like they were trying to document something because they found another body with that one of the men had a pen in his hand and he had the paper was blank. Like they were trying to tell us something.
It just spelled yet. You didn't get to finish it.
No E.
If only you would have got that at I.
But that's crazy. What do you think about that, Perry?
What do you think about that, Perry?
From now on, we know snowmen exist. Is he talking about Frosty?
I think they're talking about that picture.
Did he have a carrot nose?
They were talking about the picture that we're referring to as the Yeti. And they were like, hey, he looks like a Yeti.
Hey, look at that guy.
Let's write this down.
You fat boy.
He's a snowman. And they do exist.
So one thing here comes the cold water. Here comes the bucket of cold water. So they wrote a bunch of satirical stuff. Where they just satirical stuff. So they just made up fun shit. And that was one of the things that was part of their like satirical like fucking newsletter where they were just like whimsical because they were young kids. And also too, here's the thing with that note. I know that's like mysterious and fun. Like, ooh, look at that. I was telling you, offline, off this podcast, that if I saw a Yeti, right? If I saw a big ass, I wouldn't be like, now I know snowman exists. I'd be like, I saw a fucking Yeti, guys. Guys, I saw a giant ass like ape creature. I wouldn't be like,
Well, maybe they
now
no.
I
You
know
have to look at to
snowmen exist.
shut the hell up. Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay, maybe
They didn't have
over
shoes.
maybe over the course of a few days, they noticed this predator, this scary being. When I think of a Yeti, I think of the one at fucking Disneyland in the fucking Matterhorn, and it's fucking scary. Like I get freaked out genuinely. Like, and it's and say like the Yeti's like taunting them. It's not attacking right away, right?
Fucking
It's
dick.
it's like they see it around, and it's probably as curious of them as we would be of it. And they snap the picture of it, but they're also extremely frightened. And so like maybe they know that it's going to be their demise, that this beast, there's a huge risk that this thing could kill them. And they don't have the proper weapons to defend themselves. And even if they do, what if it strikes when they're sleeping? So maybe they wrote that. They were trying to send us a message. Like, I'm open-minded to it. I'm not saying that it's 100% accurate, but I'm open-minded to it.
One of the things that leads people to think that a Yeti attacked is the fact that like two of the people were obviously the injuries, which is a force, which they're like Yeti, beat the shit out of him. And also to the fact that one of them was missing a tongue and two of them were missing eyeballs. They're like, the Yeti ate the tongue. Look at him. But then it doesn't make sense. Why would a giant creature eat just one little tongue? He'd go in for more. It's like chicken wings from him. He'd have to get the rest of them, right?
Because
he wouldn't
think
be like,
about,
that was delicious. Thank you very much.
Think about a crocodile and how territorial it is.
Uh-huh.
Crocodiles do not like the way humans taste.
Got it.
But they are very territorial, and they will fucking kill you and drown you. So maybe the Yeti was just like, motherfuckers, this is my turf. What the fuck are you doing here? But I'm curious, like, what you are, and in maybe some way the Yeti was actually made by the Soviet Union, like in their conspiracy theory. So it's this being that probably has human DNA in it. It knows it's like, because you think of like apes, right? It looks kind of like in the ape family. Like it almost looks like, when I think of Yetis, I actually think of like I think about like the first men, right?
You think about a guy in a gorilla suit?
No, I think about men and women, the first men and women, like cavemen.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like
proto-humans essentially.
Yeah. So it's kind of like he's like the icier version. But
the icier version. Great description.
But thank you. But yeah, so like I'm sure he's curious, and especially if he was made in a lab and he's the only one out there.
This is fun. I like this theory.
Like I know I go
Yeti
I
made
go
in
in
a
these,
lab.
like this is
I love
this
it.
is where my brain goes. And so I wonder, like, if he's angry, he knows somehow that he's connected to us. Maybe he escaped the laboratory and he's on a mission to kill all humans after what they did to him. So
this is a great fucking Hollywood.
Shut up. I know, you're welcome. But
so he's like, can it be played by Liam Neeson, please? Can the Yeti be played by Liam Neeson? He's just ravaging, getting his revenge. Let's do it. Anybody have Liam's number?
Shut up. Anyways, go ahead.
This is beautiful. So that's there's some trouble. I think it's hard to believe the Yeti because again, like, there was no external injuries too.
The picture just looks like a fat guy. Is that what you're saying?
It doesn't look like it really like a Yeti.
But in all the pictures I've seen, nobody looked fat like that.
But
was it the 38-year-old?
The pictures actually lend to a different conspiracy theory. That actually lends to another theory that's floating out there, that the Soviet government had something to do with this disappearance and death ultimately. And the theory is that
they made the Yeti.
That's one theory made by one Brianna Kaye, trademark, Liam Neeson, call him. But the theory is that dude is not part of the party, but he's like a Soviet spy who's like like trying to spy on him, and he's like, "Oh shit, I got caught." He like backed up. That's part of one of the conspiracies. There is that picture where there was the photobomb. Is that not that it's a Yeti, but it's actually like a Soviet operative who got caught in the background
I
of a picture,
yes, I
that
believe
they
I
were
could
being followed.
yes. Yeah.
And one of the things for Soviet involvement is that
Well, because
so
two of them worked in that secret.
so two of them work, and so there's two suspects for being part of the KGB, which is like the CIA of Soviet. One is there was one of the younger guys. He had some job based on his degree, but he was being paid way more than what like the average salary is. Like it's like if you're like a valet guy and you get paid like $300 an hour,
Mhm.
it's like something's up. It
Mhm.
was like that kind of situation. So there's speculation that he might have been working. And also, remember, there was originally nine hikers, right? Going on a university funded by university, and the university is like, "Hey, we got one more guy." And they're like, "Oh, cool. Is he going to the college? Like, what's up? Like, what's he majoring in?" They're like, "No, it's actually a 38-year-old World War II veteran who has a shifty past, who's disappeared a few times. He's going to be going on your hiking trip. Don't ask questions. Here's him. Have fun."
Why
And
did
so they think because of he was in World War II, he's a veteran of the Soviet army. He has been disappeared for a while. He had some weird tattoos. There's speculation that he was part of the KGB and he was put in at the last minute because there hasn't been, even since then, there hasn't been like a real good reason put out why he joined the hike. Like nobody's like, well, he was an expert
my
in
brain
setting up
has
tents.
a bunch of theories now that happen with that. That makes sense to me. Like as much as I want to say Yeti is 100% aliens try to abduct them and do weird shit to them, I believe that theory because he probably like was trying to get
I'm knocking off your
information.
50%. Yo, you're not
He
half
was
and half
probably
now.
trying to get information out of them, and there he could have tortured them by plucking out their eyes to get information.
Ugh,
I'm gonna take out your
gross.
tongue if you don't give me information. And I mean, if he had a shifty past, he's probably a psycho that could easily do that stuff. But by himself, that's
Well,
where
here's the thing with that is that
where's other footprints?
so one of the theories is that and that's also another hard thing to reconcile is that if there was Soviet the footprints are such a good indicator on the bizarreness and a lack of some of the theories. It's like you said, the footprints don't match up with a bunch of like fucking KGB guys like circling the tent and being
Right.
like, unless they covered their tracks. Remember, Soviet Union was the one who investigated this whole thing, you know. So the theory, some of the theories on, so they had these two possible KGB guys, and they were right next to Soviet testing places where they test like ultra secret weaponry, right? And they veered off. They actually, where they died, it was veered off their path. So one of the theories is they saw something or they ended up knowing too much and the Soviets got involved.
Yeah,
And one of the things
that's probably what
one of the
happened.
things that's hard
Let's
to
be real.
one of the things that's hard to reconcile with the footprints is the fact that there's only one line. But one of the ways you could explain the way that there was one line is if they circled the tent, right? I'm getting up into Yeti territory now, but they circled the tent. They somehow manufactured this hole in the tent and they had all those people walk out single file under gunpoint.
Or that guy was probably in there with them, right? He's the 38-year-old.
Johnny 38
So
Soviet.
he
Yeah.
probably was in there and
What's
he
his
was
name? I'm gonna find out his
probably
name.
like,
He has a name.
get the fuck out, you know? I don't care how you get out, but you know, you're gonna make it look like this was like, you know, you guys were
Semyon.
escaping.
Semyon, spelled like semen.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's
if
not
and
spelled
no,
like
and
semen.
and if everybody was walking in single file, they would obviously be held
feeding
at
your
gunpoint.
theories. I'm feeding them. What do you think, Perry? And there's
Like
also
that still doesn't explain a lot of things.
it
So.
doesn't explain
Like
a ton
what?
of things.
What
Like
is
the flesh on the trees and the
Yeah, it does. Because maybe at one point they were like, "Fuck this," and somebody tried to get away. Like they made like these guys ran that way and these guys ran that way, and maybe at one point they were able to try to escape, climb up the tree. Either they couldn't make it, the tree broke, um, you know, so his skin got stuck, like coming up the tree. Other than that, the only thing I could think of is that like
And then the 30 the KGB was like,
he
take
just
a bite off your finger.
Eat your knuckles.
what he
Eat
could
your
have done.
knuckles.
No, but what he could have done is given them drugs.
That's one theory, is that they were
He
poisoned.
he could have like poisoned them to try to get the information out once
it's
again.
like LSD, and he's like, let's all go for a ride, and you're all gonna
Right.
die because you saw
And eat
a
yourself.
random missile once, so you
Mhm.
all need to die.
And pull your eyeballs out and bite your tongue
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, like I mean,
So that's one theory. Another theory is
I
that
want to know where those eyeballs ended up.
they ended up
And
in the
the
river,
tongue.
decomposed. The traditional
found them?
theory is that because they fell and the decomposition, soft tissue is always the first to go. So the tongue fell off in the river, and the eyes fell off because decomposition, soft tissue is always like the first to go bye bye.
Oh, okay.
So
So
yeah, not
you're-
cold water bucket again.
So you're saying their eyes could just pop out or
No, they decompose. They like basically they
disintegrated.
pretty
And
much.
then one of the theories behind the knuckles is that they built a fire, but because of frostbite, they didn't realize they were burning their hands. And then so they burnt their hands. And another one realized like, oh, I have no sensation in my finger. So he tested the theory to see if he was, and he bit too hard, not realizing that, he didn't have
But
sensation.
they just left it in his mouth.
And they must have been so frail at that point. Their skin must have been like fucking just peeling, like
hallucinating
or
hysterical.
I'm gonna go there. Or he was hungry, and there was no food, and he thought, I'm gonna get a little nibble.
I'm sure there's some trendy food truck that serves knuckles somewhere. Not human knuckles.
What was that?
Pig
What's
knuckles.
that movie? I remember there was some movie where it was like a real story that had happened, where it was like a plane crash and they were like somewhere in the snow. And I remember them eating butts.
Oh yeah.
What was the movie?
The soccer team that the plane crashed.
Yeah, and it was like
in the Andes.
The fattiest part of their body, so they ate butts.
Eating ass.
Yeah, they would cut out a piece of ass.
If that was me, I would eat out. I would try to eat.
You would eat out what?
I would eat it out. I would try to eat the outside.
That was even before the plane crash.
Not close to
the inner, not the anal,
inside.
the anus.
I ain't trying to toss no salad.
If you're gonna eat an ass, avoid the anus unless it's fun time. But for survival, if it's fun time, go for the anus first. If it's survival, avoid the anus.
Avoid the anus because you'll get sick and die from that shit too.
Hey kids, if we teach you anything, if it's survival, avoid the anus. So that's the theory that's out there. One other theory is also related to the Russian military, is in that like they fucking tested a bunch of crazy ass shit in the area. Mm-hmm. It's like their version of fucking Area 51, where we like launch all our crazy shit in the middle of the desert. Theirs is just in the middle of like the fucking snow. It's like a total Russian version where they're just out in the middle of nowhere, just like us, but it's snow instead of desert. So they were testing a bunch of shit, and they think one of the theories is that they were launching stuff too close and they were strayed, right? This was approved by the government. So they strayed too far away from there, and shrapnel ended up hitting their tent or hitting the area, and it freaked them out, and they ended up cutting. And then all the hell broke loose when they were like, oh shit, we got to cut.
Or another theory is I'm gonna let you, I'm gonna butcher it, but like the one about the sound waves.
Oh, yes. Have you heard this theory, Perry?
Maybe, I don't remember.
It's actually really interesting.
So infrasound, not ultrasound, but infrasound.
They're saying like where they were at in that area. Like, because, okay, what do the natives to that area call the mountain that they were? It's like death.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, don't go there, mountain. Or
death. Like, so, like, basically, like, there's obviously some kind of supernatural something that happens there. And this theory, like, as much as I don't want to believe it, it sounded like, okay, well, maybe it's the setup of the mountains in that area and the way the wind passes through, but it's supposed to do something to the, electric waves, so the way that we don't hear the sound, but it does something and it makes us crazy.
Yeah, it's and they use it in horror films, actually. It's below the audible sound of hearing, and it causes paranoia, disorientation, headaches, vomiting. And so the theory is that because of the way the tent was set up and the winds around that, it just generated a fucking intense amount of wind. And it like that caused this sound. It's not audible, but it caused them all to go insane. That's hard to believe because everything I've been hearing, it's like, it's just everybody's different, right? Not everybody's gonna be like, I'm going insane. People are like, oh, my tummy hurts, oh, my head, like, you know, that's hard to believe. Another traditional theory is the wind in terms of the way the wind hits the valley or whatever, that where they were camped, like it vibrates and it feels like a fucking tornado because the way the wind is rushing, and so they felt like their tent was going to blow away, which is also a little bit like, if you feel like your tent is blowing away, the best way to make your tent blow away is to remove all the weight, which is every single fucking person in the tent. So that theory is also like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? I forgot to tell you. Can we back up a little bit? Did you know that there's theories that 30-year-old Simeon, his body was switched with his brother in the grave because they found different DNA in the grave? What? Yeah. Because they tested like the son of like.
So wait, the 38-year-old died there too?
Yes. All 9. The only one who survived was the one who left because he was feeling ill and he couldn't, because of sciatica or something like that. He couldn't carry on. And his theory is always that the CIA or the Russian government had something. That's what he thinks.
Oh.
But he was, I mean, he wasn't there. I mean, he was sitting in a house somewhere at that point. Yeah. He wasn't there. So I mean,
but it's interesting for him
for what
to
it's
say
worth,
that.
he said
I now the more that, like, when you're putting this all into perspective and how they walked in single file like that, I mean, you would have to be walking cool, calm, and collective if you were held at gunpoint and your life was threatened.
Another weird thing that I just have to point out, I might not even have any comment. Nikolai, I think one of the 3 that were walking back, he was found with 2 watches on him. Why do you need 2 watches? I don't know. I'll never understand that, and I'll never figure out that mystery. Anyways, another theory that I think maybe I was surprised that you're not sold on is aliens.
I tried to.
You tried? You tried with all your might to believe in.
I really try to put myself into these situations, like if I was really there, and possibilities. And there are theories because of that area, and even like, again, the natives said crazy shit happens there. I thought, well, maybe that would actually be a perfect place for extraterrestrials in the mountain. Like maybe they have, like, I don't know, and because you know me, I already believe that aliens like have hollowed out mountains, and because you sometimes will see UFOs and stuff, whatever, hovering over like certain mountains and things like that. So I already have a theory that about extraterrestrials doing that. So maybe in this certain area, like, so with the sound waves and all the weird stuff that's happening in this area, maybe it's a good place for like a wormhole, you know, and an easy place for them to like come through, to come and go when they want to.
Oh, that's their like secret. Like that's like how the Bat Cave always has like some weird mountain he comes out of, because nobody's ever going to check that mountain.
But the only thing that I don't, because yes, you hear aliens like do abductions and stuff like that, but they don't like mutilate.
Oh, I don't think they abducted him. I think what the theory is. Let me give you some of the arguments for aliens.
Okay, yeah.
We all kind of know, anybody who does like preliminary research, that there was another set of hikers outside of these that said they saw that night orange orbs floating in the sky. They saw orange lights in the sky.
But that could have been, of course, the Soviet testing.
Could have been the Soviets testing out all their crazy shit. Of course, that could have been it. Another thing that makes that, I think, maybe compelling for Soviet or alien is that they found burn marks in the tree. And this is what the investigators said about
the tree, like up high.
Later on, some of the investigators said, he's referencing a fellow investigator, when EP Masleskov, and I examined the scene in May, we found that some young pine trees at the edge of the forest had burn marks, but those marks did not have concentric form or some other pattern. There was no epicenter. This once again confirmed that heated beams, but completely but completely known, at least to us, energy, were directing their power toward specific objects, in this case, people, acting separately. So the investigators seem to think they saw burn marks in the trees that pointed to some, for layman's lack of a better phrase, lasers, like directed blasts of burns in the trees. And some people think that the burn marks on the on some of the hikers were actually not just from the frost burn and being out there in the cold, but also from some sort of weaponry that is unknown to us.
I want to believe that. Like, you know how much I do, but
know you
I
do.
almost I feel like the two guys that were working undercover, I mean, they were young. Maybe they were little fuckers, and maybe they took some of the equipment, and maybe
One of them
those,
was old though.
and
One of them was an old
right,
little
well,
fucker.
not that old, but like, and you know, maybe
He's old.
they brought one of the guys brought one of the laser beams, and maybe
Oh,
they were
someone had to bring the
fucking with
laser
it.
gun.
And
Someone had
then
to show off with their laser gun.
maybe the Soviets like knew that, you know, and then
Oh,
and then it got confiscated,
you fuck
obviously, because no
around,
one
you get
found
done.
it.
I
No one
like
found
it. I like it. Don't
Maybe they zapped out a couple eyes after that. They're like, "Fuck you
Send me
guys!
and
You want to
sold a
see how
laser
these
gun,
work,
and-
motherfucker? Let me zap your eyes out. I'm gonna cut off your tongue, bitch.
Another weird
While
part.
you're still alive."
Yeah. Another weird part is that there was always kind of UFO sightings and stuff around there, but also too, cold water bucket coming back, is that whenever there's fucking military testing, like of new technology, everybody's like, the UFO sightings go way up. Like as soon as we started doing nuclear testing, the UFO sightings went way up, right?
Oh, so you're saying our visitors are coming to make sure we're not fucking up also their world too?
Well, that's a theory. But
Uh,
also too that like
mhm.
when what I'm trying to say more than likely is that like people see all our weird government technology shit that we're trying out. They're like, must be UFO, but it's like, no, it's actually your government like fucking around on you.
Mhm.
One other weird thing about UFOs, the Soviets demanded that the investigators, they wanted to reference UFOs as a possibility, but they were instructed to leave out any reference to UFOs.
Well, because it's obvious we know aliens exist. Now our government's
obvious.
finally admitting to that, you know. But like back then, I'm sure it was still like a no. And I think like there was also maybe some kind of compromise with the aliens that, like, you know, especially like from the government's
Like a Thanksgiving with the
standpoint.
hikers and the
No, I think it's like, hey, yeah, we're here, but
Mhm.
we don't want it to get out. Like we want it. We're living here doing our thing. Whenever they come here for whatever minerals they're taking back to their planets, or to keep them going from different, dimensions.
Bork's vacation from planet Nabu, yeah.
Yeah, and so like I definitely think all of our governments all over the world have some kind of treaty with the aliens to keep peace.
They couldn't keep that shit quiet. They don't have an actual
Oh,
treaty.
100%.
They couldn't keep. You think
Why
the
don't
government
why
could
don't you
keep that
talk
shit
about it?
quiet?
Like we all, I mean, I know
Couldn't
Perry
keep
doesn't,
that shit.
but like
You
we all
think-
know fucking aliens exist in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're not.
every
Maybe they're
country?
not the
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
well,
I'm
China
saying that.
big time. There is always sightings. In
Well-
Asia, there's a lot. And I
well-
mean, think about it. Russia's like right there. Like hello, like especially like in those really cold, like Antarctica and places like that. Like there's some shit going on because that's harder for us humans to get to. But for a very advanced being, you know, they could have all the get up to be able to be in this type of atmosphere.
Well,
Look at Perry, we lost him.
If they have the technology glazed over, if they have the technology to fucking get over to us, they have the technology to be in a little bit of cold for sure. I think they got that
100%.
figured out. But I don't think every country does. I don't think like fucking like, you know,
Afghanistan.
I don't think Afghanistan has a lock solid treaty
Well,
with.
I mean, there's
the
theories even
aliens.
about it. You know, they say
We don't have time for
in
this.
Rome. You know, they say in the Vatican there's
Uh-huh.
supposedly aliens like buried
That's another one I want to believe.
underground.
I want to believe in Bigfoot, and I want to believe in aliens in the Vatican. I wish I believed. I don't know. But yeah,
Perry, do you have anything to add?
To UFOs, do you believe in the UFOs?
They did see the flashing lights.
There's been a lot of sightings
And the
in
orbs
area,
in the
but
pictures. There's a lot of
there's
orbs in the pictures. You know.
There's theories that is like when they produce a file, that is the
Oh,
last
fuck.
picture. But you know,
Oh yeah, you got to post that one. Have you seen that, Perry? The last picture that they took was like 2 giant orbs, like 2 bright lights. I
you're on mute. But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I saw that one, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that one's still very unlikely because, like you said, it doesn't sound like aliens would do some shit like that.
It doesn't. It's not in
Yeah.
their modus operandi to like pull out.
Yeah, no,
The
I
only
don't.
thing is, the only thing I could think of, like, I'm gonna give some credence to the UFO theory because it's fun. I don't know if I believe in it. I'm putting a very low percentage on it, but it's fun. I think maybe they heard something like a UFO and they saw lights or something that really, and then they cut out their tent, and then that's when all the shit, like the natural shit, happened. Right? They're like, oh shit, there's a UFO, like, and they cut out their tent for whatever reason because they're being knuckleheads
Oh
because they're
shit, my
drunk.
eyeball fell out.
No, I think that was. I'm saying
Just
that
kidding. I know.
the UFOs caused them to fuck up their tent, and they got out and they're like, what the fuck do we do now? And so that happened. So then all the natural stuff took place because they were without a tent and without all their shit.
Yeah.
I think maybe. I don't think the UFO. I definitely don't think the aliens were like, we're gonna burn these motherfuckers.
No, like it's so not like if you look at all like the abduction stories, you know, and the people that have been abducted, it's always like the same. It's a frightening experience, but they all come back like usually their brains are like their memories like wiped out. So the little glimpses of the memories you do, but like they're probed and things, but they're still completely intact.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
They might be stealing some sperm or some eggs, but that's about it.
They're not gonna go and murder a bunch of people in various spots in the snow and not
Right.
at least like cover it up. Like if they don't, if we're going on the premise that aliens are just kind of flying around,
Those humans would
incognito,
be complete. They would just disappear. Like they would just the
well, they
humans
take
would
the bodies if they're gonna.
yeah they would just
murder
be
a bunch.
gone.
Why would they just leave
Yeah.
bodies?
Yeah,
It's
they
so-
would literally
be
just
such a
they
weird
would just
thing.
be gone.
Do you think maybe an alien, like an alien came down to visit? He said, "What's up?" And then like they pissed off the alien, and the alien's like, "I'm gonna
Dude.
take fucking revenge on you,
Like
motherfuckers."
if someone's fucking stonewatched this, I'm gonna blow their mind right now. What if it's like predator versus alien and it's yeti versus fucking a gray alien and they both want to fucking kill us or do whatever they want with us, but they gotta fight each other first.
I like it. I mean, I like it. Can
Yeah.
Liam Neeson still be the
Oh
Yeti,
my
and the gray
God.
alien could be played by what is it, Andy Serkis? Who's the one who plays the apes?
Oh my God.
Who's the one who plays
Who
the apes? Is it
cares?
Andy Serkis? Can you tell me? And
I don't
the
know, but
Smee,
I would
or
like
the-
to watch that fight. I would
not
like
Smee.
a gray alien to fucking throw down with a yeti.
The Yeti would win in a physical fight, but if you
Like, no,
mash
they
in
have their
technology,
lasers. Yeah, fucking laser beam that motherfucker.
yeah, the alien,
You
if
slice him in half. Just go. Boop.
if you dropped an alien butt naked into the forest, he would totally lose to a Yeti.
You don't know
But if
that.
he had his laser gun that he borrowed from Simeon, like he would totally fucking fuck him up.
You don't know that. He could fucking mind read him and mind fuck him in his head.
I'm gonna mind fuck you. I'm gonna do you dirty before I kill you, motherfucking Yeti. Oh, the Yeti's
Anyway.
genitals must smell so bad, right? Those Yeti genitals must be fucking
I don't know. They're frozen. so-
putrid. You think they have the nice like
Icy?
Fiji water smell because
Oh my God.
they've been rinsing in Fiji water all their life? No, they gotta smell terrible.
I mean, if
you
they're
think-
anything like cats, they keep themselves very clean.
So what do you think? So in your premise of a fucking Yeti, do you think the Yeti was around in the 50s and now that it's extinct? Or do you
No,
think
I
there's
think a yeti is a hybrid of an ape and a human. I think they are doing experiments and they lab created a yeti.
so it's one solitary Yeti. There's not like families of Yeti. There's not like
No,
a
because
pack of
you've
Yetis
heard
hiding.
you've heard stories like when we've watched like Ancient Aliens, like it's not
The most credible show on television.
hell yeah, motherfucker. You were fucking watching this show to get fucking information about
I
this,
know,
so
'cause
shut
I
the
wanted
hell
to
up.
see like
So,
what they
yeah.
would say about it.
Yeah, of course.
Could it
Mr.
be
fucking
true?
accurate. But no, like even on the show there's lab experiments of them breeding different animals to create some kind of, you know, and they've have found these creatures.
But then did they just
There was like one that was like half boar and half something else that was like washed up on shore, and they said it was, I forget what like little island, but that island was the one where they were doing all of these like
The
different
island of creatures. Oh, that sounds so rad.
yeah, they were doing like all the experiments on the island, hoping that they would
sounds
never
so
get
good.
out. But then for whatever, they threw this.
How much do you think you could how much, what do you think the appeal would be if you just had a bunch of fucking honked up, like mangled up creatures? Where do you think a lot of, and it was
It
on
would
an
be
island, do you think a
sad.
lot of people would take that trip, or people like, that's too fucked up, I can't?
No, it's fucked up. Like I remember my grandma told me like one of her creepy neighbors, like where the house that my mom's at now, there was some creepy neighbor, and he bred a bunny and a cat together.
Okay.
And the cat, like it was like she said it was like the saddest thing, and she would see it like walk with its front feet and hop with its back feet.
Hold on.
You have to ask my mom about it.
I do, because you're telling me that someone bred a cat and a bunny and
Yeah.
it created a baby creature that was around.
Yeah, it looked like a deformed like
Okay, I'm gonna have
cat
this is
bunny.
well, we know who we're gonna have on the next episode. We're gonna have
Oh God,
Brianna's mother, because this
crazy
is
ass.
fucking batshit that this was actually a thing. I don't know if I believe her. No offense, Denise, but I don't
My
know.
grandma told me.
I don't know if you, God rest her
I
soul. I don't know if I
believe
believe
her.
her.
My grandma was a lot of things, but I don't like. There's no reason for her to make up that shit.
Well, yeah, how are you gonna call? What are you gonna? You can't call it a bat, bunny, cat. Would you call it a cunny?
A cunty?
Cunty?
A cunty.
Ugh,
That would be Perry's name.
that's so awful.
Perry looks like he's ready to go night-night.
Goodbye, good night. So, okay, so I think we've there's a couple other theories. Mency, the tribe, there was early theories that they did it. I don't think so. No,
That's a possibility.
no.
I'm open-minded to that too.
There was a prison camp apparently in the middle of the fucking snow, like next to
The
it.
only reason why I wouldn't believe the natives is because they stayed away from that mountain. There was already this stigma for them to stay away from it.
Plus, what was their reason? Like, I know they said it was kind of a
It's
pseudo
their
sacred
land, kind of
but people
thing.
went through areas where they were like
Maybe they
before
were
that, no.
getting drunk and acting disrespectful, and the natives didn't like that.
So they murdered everybody
Or
in
maybe
very bizarre ways.
Well, no, maybe they were fucking with the natives, and natives clapped back.
I don't know, but it doesn't look like a fucking crime scene where a bunch of people were attacked. It looks like a,
But if you have an entire tribe that's like circled around your tent, and you're like, get the fuck out, like you gonna listen to them, you know?
So you think that the natives circled their tent and they're like, get the fuck out, and then they cut open their tent like, ha, you're on your own now.
No, they like you said, single file. They were kind of like keep walking, and then maybe they did.
I don't know.
Whatever
That doesn't check out. Bye, Perry.
Whatever.
And then I don't think that one holds any credence. And then there's also the theory that there was a prison camp right next to the prison. There was some escapees.
Oh, I did hear that. I
don't think
that.
so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
Anyways, I think we've exhausted this enough. I think we don't know.
I think everybody wants to see my screenplay written. Alien versus Yeti.
What about Liam Neeson's Yeti Revenge?
It's gonna be a hit. You're welcome. But yeah, I'm definitely like leaning more towards as much as I want to say aliens. I think it was the Soviet Union. They were using that place to do testings and things. And I think maybe the group of kids saw some stuff that they shouldn't have seen. And then knowing the two guys worked for this like underground, maybe they were like involved somehow, and then shit went awry because maybe they told, heard something that they were telling them or something like that.
I mean, the two that make the most sense to me are the Soviet involvement and an avalanche, right? Or some combination of that. And it could have been some combination of some of these theories. They could have, there could have been an avalanche, and then there was fucking animals. Like, it could have been a mixture of all this shit. I don't. So, Perry, we're summing it up. I think that Brianna's either Soviet or Yeti. I'm either Soviets or avalanche. Perry, are you all in on avalanche at this point?
Here's my theory: it was mainly avalanche, but due or caused by government or Soviet.
It could have been like, because
that's why they kind of covered it up, kind of just like, yeah, don't dig into this. We're gonna look bad.
Yeah.
and it's just a freak
I think
accident.
we could all agree on that.
We could all agree that the Soviets were acting real fishy after this.
Or I like the other theory where they stumbled across something.
They might have. And,
what? What did they stumble across?
Like some kind of testing weaponry, some kind of fucking random Russian.
I just really want to hear Perry say aliens.
Because one of the things
I'm 5% alien.
5%. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
We're gonna
possibility.
slowly convert him
People saw lights
over the years of extra normal.
He's gonna start. His tinfoil hat's gonna get bigger and bigger.
Yep, we're gonna slowly convert him.
But you have to remember Soviet. Like I'll just this quick thing, and then we can wrap up. But the Soviets. Remember, the Soviets said, you are going to walk this fucking trail. Here's the path you're going to go. And they veered off from the path. And the day they veered off from that path, something went awry. It's a little too coincidental. Like,
yep.
I
think that's it.
You guys went off the trail.
I think we solved the unsolved mystery.
I don't think we did, but
everybody's welcome.
So this has been an episode of Extra Normal Podcast.
Please, all of our viewers, listeners, please comment, message us. Let us know what your
like
guys'
and subscribe.
Theory.
Give us 5 stars.
If you like our theories, I know mine are very creative. So I
know mine
because I just have a very beautiful mind like that. So yes. So let us know what you guys think.
Let us know what you think at extranormalpodcast@gmail.com if you want to give us a long-winded email about how you feel. If you want to just give us a dirty comment on Instagram, it's Extra Normal Podcast on Instagram, Extra Normal P on Twitter. We're on TikTok now. Well, we're
gotta
everywhere.
Check out our TikToks because like we give out that like little bits of history. I love pages like that where you get it kind of sparks an interest into certain subjects that you've never heard about. So yes, please definitely follow us on TikTok.
Yeah, follow us on TikTok, all that stuff. But thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Oh, I'm fucking tired.
Wow.
It's been a long week.
Well, you're 40 years old now. So.
Someone feel sorry for me. Goodbye. Okay, what?